Something big might be brewing in Pittsburgh, and it could change the Steelers' entire offense. Whispers are turning into real conversations about a possible major move before the NFL trade deadline. Could the Steelers be planning to bring in one of the fastest wide receivers in the league? Let's find out. But hey, before we jump into the latest breaking news, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a Steelers update. Alright, let's get into it. Studio Microphone main script. Reports out of Pittsburgh suggest the Steelers have been exploring trade options to strengthen their offense, especially their deep passing game. According to insider chatter, the team recently contacted the New Orleans Saints during the bye week about wide receiver Rashid Shaheed, one of the fastest players in the entire NFL. Now, that's interesting. Shaheed isn't just quick, he's a genuine game breaker. He's known for stretching the field, tracking deep balls perfectly, and turning routine plays into highlight reels. He's currently sitting at 22 catches for 288 yards and 2 touchdowns, including that massive 87-yard strike against the Giants last week. Here's the twist. Shaheed is in the final year of his contract, and the Saints are struggling at 1-4. If they drop a few more games, they might start selling before the trade deadline, and Shaheed could be one of the first names on that list. For Pittsburgh, that kind of speed could open up everything. If the front office feels Calvin Austin III isn't part of their long-term picture, Shaheed could be the perfect fit, slightly bigger, just as explosive, and ready to make an instant impact. So, the question is, will the Steelers pull the trigger before the trade window closes? Stay with me, because things are heating up fast in the Steel City that if you lose sight of Rashid Shaheed on the football field, you might as well start praying, because once he's gone, there's no catching him. His speed down the field is pure danger for any defense that dares to play him one-on-one. And that's exactly why the Steelers are interested. Pittsburgh loves those vertical threats, receivers who can stretch the field and open up space for the rest of the offense. Looking at his current numbers, Shaheed's on pace for around 75 catches, nearly 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns this season. That's impressive production for someone who wouldn't even need to be your WR1. For a number 2 receiver, that's gold. Now, sure, he's not a household name like Chris Olave, DJ Moore, or Calvin Ridley, but what he brings fits exactly what Pittsburgh's missing right now: speed, separation, and big playability. If the Steelers want someone who can beat man coverage and win all over the field, a player like Chris Olave would be ideal, a smoother route runner with elite precision. But Shaheed brings that instant spark, the kind of player who can turn a quiet game into fireworks with a single deep catch. He's also slightly bigger than Calvin Austin III, and that makes him versatile. He can play wide, he can return kicks, and he's got that deep ball chemistry potential that every quarterback dreams about. Imagine a trio of Shaheed, Calvin Austin III, and George Pickens. That's speed on top of speed. Defenses would have to pick their poison, and whichever way they go, someone's getting open deep. Now, reports suggest those trade talks might have cooled off during the bye week. But here's the thing, don't assume it's over. The Saints are sitting at 1-4, and if they drop a few more, they'll be looking to offload assets before the trade deadline. That's when deals get real. Because in the NFL, it always happens the same way. The closer you get to the deadline, the hotter the phones start ringing. And if the Steelers see the right opportunity, they won't hesitate to make their move. So keep your eyes open. The next few weeks could get very interesting for the black and gold. Stay with me. Now, let's talk about a few other wide receivers who could realistically end up on the Steelers' radar. Names that actually make sense. Outside of Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, a few players stand out. Jakobi Meyers, reliable, tough, and a proven route runner. He might not have blazing speed, but he knows how to find space and move the chains. Calvin Ridley is another name, electric down the field, a deep threat who can change the game in one snap. And don't forget Hollywood Brown, another speedster who knows how to take the top off a defense. Then there's Tyler Lockett. Yes, he's not the player he once was, but his experience could still bring short-term value if the Steelers wanted a one-season veteran to steady the group. Meanwhile, in Green Bay, Dontavian Wicks might become the odd man out once Christian Watson and Jaden Reed return. He's had issues with drops, sure, but he's got potential, and that's something Pittsburgh often looks for. But here's the reality check. All of this talk assumes the Steelers even want to make a move. Because from what it looks like, they're not desperate. Calvin Austin III isn't expected to be out long, and Pittsburgh's offensive system relies heavily on 12 and 13 personnel, which means more tight ends on the field and fewer wide receivers. So, with that setup, they might not see an urgent need to trade for another receiver. They already have DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin III as their primary duo. Behind them, young names like Roman Wilson and Scotty Miller have been stepping up, and the team seems to trust them. They also have depth with Ben Skoranek and Isaiah Hodgins waiting for their shot. The message is simple. This coaching staff believes in what they've got. They like their group, they like their system, and they don't want to fix what isn't broken, unless the right opportunity falls into their lap. So don't be shocked if the Steelers don't go after a big-name receiver this time. The trade window is closing fast, and while Pittsburgh is keeping an eye on possibilities, it feels like they're confident riding with the squad they already have. Stay with me, because what comes next could explain exactly why the front office might focus somewhere else entirely. Sometimes in life, a moment of loss reminds you how fragile everything really is. When you lose someone close, you start thinking about your own life and the people who depend on you every single day. That kind of reflection changes how you see everything, even football. Because in this game, just like in life, one moment can change everything. And speaking of sudden turns, one rumor has been spreading fast across Steelers circles this week, and it caught a lot of people off guard. Reports have linked the Pittsburgh Steelers as a possible trade destination for Dolphins running back Devon Achane. When that surfaced online, it shocked plenty of fans. The same report mentioned Kansas City, Green Bay, and the Chargers as potential fits too, but Pittsburgh's name stood out. Why? Because it simply doesn't add up. The Steelers don't need another running back. Their backfield is already one of the more balanced and underrated units in the AFC. Jaylen Warren continues to prove himself as a reliable, explosive weapon, tough, agile, and consistent. He's shown that even as an undrafted player from Oklahoma State, he can make defenders miss and turn small plays into big gains. Behind him, Kenneth Gainwell just rushed for nearly 100 yards in a single game, showing he's a capable and dependable number 2 option. He's quick out of the backfield, great in passing situations, and knows how to handle third-down pressure. And the Steelers still believe in Caleb Johnson as a long-term piece. He may not have fully broken out yet, but they trust his talent and plan to give him more chances as the season rolls on. So when you really look at it, this rumor about trading for a running back like Achane doesn't fit Pittsburgh's logic or need. The Steelers have bigger priorities, and spending assets on a position they're already strong in makes no sense. But this does reveal something important: how the rest of the league still underestimates what Jaylen Warren brings to this offense. He's been proving people wrong since the day he got here, and the more you watch him, the clearer it becomes. This guy isn't just a backup. He's a difference maker. Stay with me, because what's coming next might show exactly where the Steelers should be focusing before the trade deadline. And that trend has carried straight into this season. Now, check this out. There's a chart going around that compares missed tackles forced per touch with yards after contact per touch. And guess who's sitting right at the top corner, ahead of everyone else by a mile? Yeah, Jaylen Warren. When you watch him play, it's obvious. He's not just breaking tackles. He's creating something out of nothing. Every time the offensive line gives him an inch, he finds a way to turn it into a yard. He's got that rare mix of balance, power, and shiftiness that keeps defenders guessing. Now, don't get me wrong. Kenneth Gainwell is solid as a number 2 guy in this offense. But when you line them up side by side, there's just no comparison. Warren simply does more broken tackles, more fight, more energy in every run. And it's not just about rushing. Warren's a complete back. He blocks, he catches out of the backfield, he reads defenses. He's the kind of player every coach dreams of having. Yet somehow, people keep sleeping on him. Honestly, I'm tired of hearing that the Steelers need to go out and get another back when the answer is already in the building. Unless something drastic happens, Jaylen Warren is the guy, the number 1. And the Steelers know it. But speaking of Miami, there's another name floating around in the trade rumor mill: Jalen Waddle. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN recently said he wouldn't be surprised if teams start calling the Dolphins about Waddle. Here's the thing, though. People often assume that when a team struggles, they're suddenly ready to sell every good player they have. That's just not how it works. Waddle's only 26, locked in through 2028, and still one of the brightest young receivers in the league. If Miami really is heading toward a rebuild, he's the kind of player you build around, not trade away. Fowler even said the same. He doubts the Dolphins would even consider moving him, especially now that Tyreek Hill's out for the season. And he's right. Waddle's young, explosive, professional, and still developing. There's no logic in trading that away for a short-term fix. Usually, the players you keep an eye on during trade season are the ones with issues inside the locker room. or those on expiring contracts that teams want to move before free agency hits. Waddle doesn't fit either category. He's locked in, focused, and clearly a core piece for Miami's future. So, as interesting as the rumors sound, I just don't see it happening. Not this year. Not with Waddle. Now, let's turn our attention to Chicago, because something interesting is happening there. The Bears have decided to bench their former starting left tackle, Braxton Jones, hoping to shake things up by giving rookie Anish Trapilo, their second-round pick from Boston College, a shot. And that instantly raises one big question. Could Pittsburgh step in here? Imagine this. The Steelers trading for Braxton Jones to strengthen the left side and give Broderick Jones a little competition. Now, don't get me wrong, Broderick's had some bright moments this season, but there have also been too many plays where he's looked shaky, giving up quick pressures, losing leverage, and standing too upright in his pass sets. Those are habits defenders love to exploit. A lot of that comes down to coaching and discipline, things that can take time to build. But if Pittsburgh wants to secure more consistency at left tackle right now, Braxton Jones might just be a name worth circling. He's 26, over 300 pounds, and has started 44 games in his career. Before this year, he was viewed as one of the Bears' most reliable linemen, an athletic tackle who could